You're listening to Dude, Check This Out, episode 20. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dude, Check This Out, the podcast where we talk about interesting things with interesting people in interesting places. Today, we are actually in a personal jet of mine. I rented out this jet and I personalized it. I put a little sticker on the side that said Kevin Rules and made it personal. And so we're in this personal jet right now. So if you hear any background noise, it's, we're like over the Atlantic Ocean or something. I don't know. I just said, take me away. And they have.
To a secret place.
To a secret place. So I don't know where we're going. They wouldn't tell me. It was secret. My name's Kevin Land. Today with me we have my co-host, as always, the beautiful, the bashful, the Noah Stewart.
That's what they call me. The beautiful, the bashful Noah Stewart.
It
That's on my business card.
Do you have a business card?
Oh, yes, obviously. It says the beautiful and the bashful.
Why haven't you ever shown that to me? I mean, I know people call you that because I've known you for a long time, but I didn't know you got it, like, professionally put.
They're all laminated, too.
Laminated?
It's an extra step, but I feel like it's worth it.
I agree. I've had my own business cards, and they weren't laminated, and I will say I felt very unprofessional. So I'm very impressed with your...
Well, you should be.
As I am. This is Dude, Check This Out. We're going to be talking about some really cool stuff. Noah, you have any interesting things to talk about before we get started?
No.
Nothing cool
I guess not.
happening?
I don't know.
I mean, how do you like the jet?
Jet's pretty nice.
The jet's cool?
It's pretty good. What is that sound? Is
that's
the jet backfiring?
No. That's our waitress. She kind of will come back and forth and help us out with stuff.
I think she prefers flight attendant.
Yeah, I apologize.
It's 2018, Kevin.
Yeah. But,
Get it together.
Women can be flight attendants. Right? I think it's 2018. But besides her, we have a guest this week. The adorable,
Adjacent.
Thank you, Samantha Myers.
Hi.
Hey, Sam.
It's me.
Yeah, how do you like my jet?
Well, it's funny because you were talking about being unprofessional with your unlaminated cards.
Yes.
And then you waited so long to introduce your guest.
It was not that long.
It hurts my feelings.
It was not very long.
Just pretty long.
Fine. Well, now I feel really dumb because I remember I wanted to introduce you as Miss C# herself.
Thank you.
Samantha Myers, but then I was trying to find another word that started with A that to go with adorable, and the only word that came to my mind was addictive, and I was like, that's probably not
and
right.
then I said adjacent.
I was glad Noah just swooped in there
And saved
and
you.
really saved the day. Yeah, that's why we're a team. Right? We're hosts. We're the hostess with the mostest.
The way you introduced him, though, it reminds me of Wayne's World. It's like, this is Wayne, and with him, as always, Scarth.
Still haven't seen
his
Wayne's
sidekick.
World.
You've never seen Wayne's World?
No, I don't think I've seen it either.
All right,
I've
that'll
only
be on the
ever
next episode.
seen a lot of that gif of them rocking out to Bohemian Rhapsody. That's like the most
fair.
Wayne's World I've ever seen.
Wow.
And that's a lot. That's like most of the movie. I'm
No,
pretty
it
sure.
is not.
I feel like it is. I also haven't seen it. I feel like I'm an authority.
It's Mike Myers at his best.
I will say it is unfortunate
Okay.
that we'll never get around to it since this is the last episode of the podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
number 20.
I
Yeah.
can still make you guys
The
watch
finale.
things.
Well, that's why I decided to
Big
get this jet. We're gonna go out with a bang.
With
so
all that podcast money?
Yeah, with all the podcast money. We've done in front of many live studio audiences.
So
Some that have sold out, some that we bought a much too big of a theater with only one guy in it.
you were like, we could spend this money and continue the podcast, or we could just take it and buy a jet and stop the podcast.
We were gonna end on a high note, the highest of notes.
Yeah,
And so, we can't top this episode.
that's fair.
Not with your being here.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I mean, I'll come back. Just make me a regular guest.
But we can't. The podcast is over after this. We're done.
But it doesn't have to be. That's what I'm saying.
Oh wait, so you just want to join the
You just
podcast?
want to
Yeah.
be a regular.
You just want to be a dude?
No, I don't have time for
You
that.
also want to be a dude.
I mean, ladies can be dudes.
Yeah.
But
Of course.
all right, Sam, you have anything you'd like to share with the people at home? Any interesting tidbits going on in your life? Any
Yeah, I
cool
want to talk about
stories?
Comic Palooza.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're just there. I went. You brought me
That's
one day.
exciting.
It was very
Yeah.
cool. I didn't
It
have to
was
pay.
great.
It was awesome.
Oh,
It
really?
was really
Yeah,
exhausting.
she had like 3-day
Yeah,
passes, and no
I
one.
got 2 3-day passes, and I took him one day, and I took my fiance the next day, and then I took my dad yesterday,
Oh, fun.
and it was super cool. We saw some panels about writing.
We did.
I ended up going to like 4 panels that had Joe Lansdale on them by mistake. Joe Lansdale wrote several things, but I guess most famously Bubba Hotep, and he just kept appearing in my panels, and I was like, please stop.
Was that the guy that I was there with you for that one panel? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. He was okay.
He likes to talk.
Yeah. He was.
No offense,
Fine.
Joe Lansdale, if you're listening.
I'm sure he's listening. Very popular.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I was really excited about Felix Comic Art. It's this guy, Felix Liu, who reps a bunch of famous artists. Well, I say famous. They're famous to me.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Otley, who's done most of Invincible by Robert Kirkman. And the person I was most excited to see was James Harren.
Yeah. He was really cool.
He's super cool and
He was-
super buff.
He was so ripped because I was there when
Really?
we.
That's a
yeah.
trait of James Harren.
He was
Yes.
incredibly fit,
Yeah.
and he wasn't like, you know how some guys when they get really strong they get like big puffy strong.
Yeah.
He was like chiseled strong.
he was like, what is it? Skinny ripped?
Yeah, well, he was really thin, but his arms were just massive.
Like he's
It's
like
from
the
all that
guys.
drawing.
I guess.
It's a hardcore drawing.
He's like the like legendary guys from like the early days of Ninja Warrior, where he had like 2% body fat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
I didn't like get his BMI, but he was. I just remember we walked away, and the first thing I said to Sam was like, "He is so ripped."
I didn't notice. I didn't know until you said so.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How could you not notice? His
I
arms were
was
huge.
busy staring at his beautiful eyes and artwork.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean,
Jonathan.
he was very
He actually
fit.
is listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very fit, very much so. He was a
Yeah.
cool
Well,
guy
that's
though. He was
impressive.
super nice.
Yeah. He did a commission for me for $200. It was great.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. I would have spent like $300
I mean,
easily.
his artwork's very good.
Yeah.
Didn't you also trade you got a trade from someone for a Barnes and Noble gift card? I saw
Yeah.
that on Twitter.
It was really funny. I just was passing by. It was another artist represented by Felix, Daniel Warren Johnson, and he has a creator-owned comic that he writes and draws called Extremity.
Oh, okay, I've read the first 3 issues of that. I plan on picking it up in trade. I need to check that out. I like the first
Yeah.
3 issues.
Yeah, I wanted to pick up the trade, and he was only taking cash, and I had like $15 on me, or like $12 or something, and he was asking for 17, and I was just like, I don't have enough cash. And he was just like, take it, and I'm like, what? He was like, just take it, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I was like, here, I have a Barnes and Noble gift card that has $20 on it, and I haven't used it yet. You can have that. And he was like, okay.
Bartering
That's
at its
good.
best.
Yeah, it was super chill. I mean, I can't believe that he wanted me to just take it.
Yeah.
He was-
Artist, man.
He was asking me about like places to eat around here,
That's cool.
so we chatted for a bit. I told him to go to House of Pies.
Spice is very good.
It's pretty good. Is that only a Texas thing?
I think it's just a Houston thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I don't know.
There's one literally a block away from my apartment, and I go there way too much. I love breakfast food. It's like a lot. Yeah,
That's what I did this weekend.
that's super cool. I went one day with you, and it was super
Yeah.
fun.
Well,
Yeah.
I've been to that show for the past 5 years in a professional capacity, and I'm really glad I didn't have to go this year. I'm glad y'all had fun,
I got to go for fun. It was great
but oh
instead
boy,
of working.
just just thinking about going to that show stresses me out so much.
I really dig it. There's a lot of people I only see like once a year at Comic Palooza, and then it's good for networking. Like I met a lot of new people.
Yeah, it was cool.
And it's cool that there were actually some cool creators there this year, because there usually aren't at
Yeah,
Comic Palooza.
Mark Wade was there. Well, they usually have like one like sleeper insert.
Yeah,
into...
like James Robinson was there last year.
Yeah, James Robinson.
That was awesome.
And Tony Harris.
And also, no one talks to those guys.
Yeah, I know. It's
that's
crazy.
because everyone. That's the thing. That's the thing about Comic Palooza is that mostly everyone's there for like TV and movie actors.
Yeah, they had Tom Holland this year.
Yeah.
That was the big one.
I mean, that is pretty cool.
It is pretty
But
cool.
but like last year, like I was just walking around with Jordan, and I had like a handful of nachos, and then I walked by James Robinson's table, and no one was talking to him, and I was just like, it's kind of embarrassing. I have this handful of nachos, but I'm gonna go talk to James Robinson. And then like we talked about how rad his Nick Fury miniseries at Marvel was, and how like Akko was amazing.
Yeah, he was really nice. I think I got him to sign Airboy for me.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I love
That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, Comic Palooza is really cool, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
It's not.
I don't think so.
It's not.
It's not. So, Sam,
Yes.
as our guest,
Mhm.
you have given us something to check out.
Yes.
But before we can get into that, since I am currently the host, I currently have the power. So I'm going to have to tear the power out of myself,
Okay.
and you are going to have to take it and consume it and make it a part of you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, here we go.
Oh, thank you. He just ripped it out of his chest.
Let's just take it.
It's like a little pile of like mush.
It's a little goopy.
Yeah.
You have
I
to eat
don't
that.
know.
You gotta
You,
swallow it, and then
Okay.
it becomes a part of you.
all right, hold on. You ready
Yeah.
for this?
Yeah.
Oh.
Ugh.
Can you feel it?
Oh.
Do
Yeah.
you feel it? The power spreading?
Yeah, I feel the power. No, I'm
you?
kind of wondering how Jordan and Noah did it because did they do it like mouth to mouth or what?
Yeah, it was a little.
It was
they
like-
got really
Did
close.
he baby bird it into her
Yeah,
mouth?
it's like in Kirby Superstar for the Super Nintendo when like you like take the food and then you try to heal your partner and you give them a little kiss.
Okay.
You baby bird the food into their mouth
Yeah.
and then they're healed.
So,
It's a
now that you are the host,
Yes.
we are ready for your monologue.
But I'm the host, so I don't have to do a monologue.
But we're ready. I just want you to let you know that we're
you ready for it?
ready for
It's
it.
Okay.
tradition.
Well, I did pull one up, but hold on. Where's my pen?
So
I
unprofessional.
gotta check this off. I gotta check this off my
So
list.
unprofessional.
No, take the power. Got it.
She does have a list. No, yeah, there it says. Step 1, take the power. Wow, you're very prepared.
Wow.
I told you.
Never mind.
Wait,
So
why is
professional.
step 9 take over the world? Oh no, wait, step 6 is never give back the power. I don't have to make things up. I can see it right there.
Yeah.
Wait a
Never
minute.
getting that back.
I don't know if I want it back.
All right.
I have a hole in my heart now for where the power was.
Power
It's never
shaped
coming back.
hole
All right.
in my heart.
Mhm. All right, monologue. Here we go.
All right. Okay. Now I have to prepare. I have to put on my best voice. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die. That's it, guys. That's my monologue.
I feel like I blacked out for a second.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
What does that have to do with the podcast?
that's my monologue. You asked me to write a monologue, and I did it.
Yeah, I was like
you wrote that.
I was laughing for like
course.
5 minutes, Kevin. It was hilarious.
Did I? How long was that monologue?
It was like 3 minutes maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Had some good jokes in there. Some nice roasting.
Yeah, no, yeah. I remember that. That was funny. The roast of the pig. It was good.
You don't have to
It was
pretend
good.
that you remember.
Hmm.
It's fine.
All right. Well, you have the power now, so
yeah,
you are the
I have
host.
the power. I can
Yeah.
talk in the mic however I want.
Hostess with the mostest. Get us on the show.
On the showstis. Got it. That's what I will do. Okay, so I gave for you guys to read a comic book called Why the Last Man. It's by the Vertigo imprint, or it's in the Vertigo imprint of DC Comics, and it is written by Brian K. Vaughan and drawn by Pia Guerra, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So I guess we should start with hot takes,
Yeah.
or do we do
hot
hot
take.
takes after we summarize?
You're the host. You tell us.
All right, hot takes.
Hot takes. Ooh.
So hot.
You can always
Takes.
rearrange it in post,
It's true.
And we will.
We'll
We
have the power.
Definitely will, yeah.
but I have the power.
So wait, so you're going to have to edit it for us since you're never going to give it back to us?
Yeah, I guess I'll figure out how to edit.
Cool. So we've read
Yeah,
the
what'd you
first
think?
2,
Mm-hmm.
and since then I have gotten more of them from you and have been continuing to read the story. But the first 2, the whole everything, I don't read nearly as many comics as both of you guys do. I also didn't work at the comic book store that both of you all worked at. But it was this whole like comic is definitely different than a lot of other comics I've read. It's like
So you've read a lot of superhero stuff.
Yeah.
Besides like the one time I got you to read Essex County.
yeah, which was really good. And I've read like Watchmen and stuff, which is not just a superhero, but it's kind of like a satire or a twist on it.
It's a deconstruction of the genre.
Yeah. But this one is just it's really, really interesting and like a really cool idea and way of writing that a lot of other comic books don't do. And so like as I read it, I was like really getting like into the world and drawn in. And then he would like hit you with these punches of these like full art panels.
Brian, that's a very Brian K. Vaughan move. He
Yeah,
does that a
and
lot.
stuff that like kind of like would like I'd stop and just stare at it for like a solid like minute or 2 minutes of just being like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And this was one of the times where as I would read something, I would get somewhere and it would make me want to go back and reread that whole issue or chapter or whatever, just to really kind of like get what's going on. And I found that the story was so interesting that I would like be really like kind of like just running through the story and reading all the dialogue. And then I would get to a panel and then start noticing the backgrounds and being like, this looks really, really good. There's so much stuff going on. And then have to go back again and actually look at all of the pictures and not just try to like get through the story because I was so engaged. So it's definitely one that I've like, as I've read, had to like teach myself how to read this specific type of comic. Because I can't just kind of like with New Avengers, not that I didn't take it seriously or read it well too, but it was kind of like an easier or lighter read, even though New Avengers was kind of heavy.
Yeah, but also it's that kind of thing with like superhero comics where like nothing makes sense, nothing matters.
Yeah, and I was willing to just kind of like, if I didn't understand something, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. It's not really that important.
Yeah.
And move on. But with this one, it was a lot. Every time I would get into it, I would want to go back and reread it and see if I noticed different things or really appreciate the art a lot more than I would in normal superhero comics. So I really enjoyed it. It was really good.
Nice.
Good.
Well, I, having read like a decent amount of Brian K. Vaughan's work before this, but this is, from what I understand, Why the Last Man is like kind of his magnum opus, where like or like the thing that like really broke him into the mainstream.
Yeah, I would think that's fair.
That was like kind of like the golden age of maybe the silver age of Vertigo comics, where like it was like stuff like this and Fables and Preacher was coming out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess what I've read the most from Brian K. Vaughan is Saga, which has been going on for the past like 5 years. Number 52 comes out this week. And that book, yeah, I can see a lot of his kind of writing style in this that is present in Saga as well, like with the big like giant like whole page art pages, kind of like big shocking reveals of stuff like that. Like a big move that he likes to pull a lot in Saga is the first page is like a really kind of like what the hell kind of like weird thing happening, and then the last page is like a big huge cliffhanger kind of thing, which he does a lot in Why the Last
he
Man.
does.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I thought it was interesting in the context of when it came out, because it was 2001?
2001, 2002
Yeah.
is when it started, I think.
Yeah. And you can kind of see a lot of kind of like stuff that was going on then. I mean, it feels very kind of Y2K-y, of like the end of the world kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, and everybody's blaming everything on Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And also, this was just kind of a weird parallel to draw, but every time I saw the monkey, what's the monkey's name?
Ampersand?
Ampersand, yes. Every time I thought of Ampersand, or saw Ampersand, all I could think of was Ross's monkey from Friends, Maurice.
Okay. I don't know. I never saw that, I guess.
It looked exactly like Ampersand.
Well, I mean, Capuchins all pretty much look the same.
Well, sure.
They're adorable.
But I thought, yes, I liked it a lot.
Excellent.
That's my
good
hot take.
stuff.
All right. So, as the host, I feel like it's my job to warn everybody of spoilers, because obviously we're going to be talking about the first 2 volumes. But if
In
you
detail.
haven't checked it out, there's still 8 volumes after that you should read.
And they're pretty good. I'm like
they're all excellent
6 or
from
7
start
in.
to finish.
Or if you're buying them now, I believe they're in 5 books, and each book is 2 trades of the old, like, release of the trades.
Nice.
Okay, so let's do a quick summary of the first 2, and then we'll get into it. Yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so it starts, and I really like the first issue, where he kind of tries to make it seem like everything's happening at the same time, where he gives the countdowns for every panel, but it's the moments leading up to this huge disaster that kills all the men on the earth. And for some reason, Yorick, the main character, is the only man who survives, along with his monkey, who is also a male. But every other male or fetus or anything...
It's like everything with a Y chromosome,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
All
it
the
gets wiped
mammals.
out all at once. And then it's the story of, like, what happens after. Yorick goes to see his mom first in D.C., because his mom is a senator. I believe that's right. She's a representative.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows what's going on in D.C., where, you know, all the men are wiped out, which is, like, most of the politicians. And then whoever's left is pretty much Democratic women. I mean, there's some Republicans, but not really. And they're just trying to carry on, and they try to go find the next president, who was the Secretary of Agriculture.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not equipped to be president, but she's next in line, so she kind of has to. And then he gets assigned to Secret Agent 355, who's going to take him to see Dr. Allison Mann, who supposedly can maybe not fix this, but she works in cloning research, so she can work on the next generation of humans.
Yeah, she's the United States' best bet at figuring out why this happened and figuring out how to either why Yorick, the main character, and his monkey, why they survived, and if she can't figure that out, at least figure out how to get cloning going on or something to keep the human race alive.
Yeah. And so he uses a lot of time skips in this story. Sometimes it's weeks or months. So it's Yorick and 355 going to see Dr. Mann at first, but all Yorick is really concerned with is trying to get to Australia to see his girlfriend, who he was about to propose to right before the disaster hit. And so they're going from DC to Boston, and then when they get to Boston, somebody burns down Dr. Mann's lab. And then they have to go to California to get her backup samples to try and figure out what makes Yorick and Ampersand so special and what kept them alive through the disaster. And then hopefully clone not only women but also men in the next generation of humans. Yeah, they get into hijinks along the way.
Yeah, like along the way, you kind of see what Yorick's sister is up to with
Yeah.
the Amazons.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really
It was
cool.
great. And then they run into a town that's a prison town, and it's now run by the inmates of the prison, the women's prison.
Yeah, but all the women, it's like a utopia where
Yeah.
they're like, we've done our time, we've learned that we can't live that way, and so we're all murderers or drug dealers or what have you, but we're gonna live peacefully now because there's no other option, and this is what we have to do to survive.
So that's a brief overview, and what I really want to talk about, because I think Brian K. Vaughan does a really good job at writing characters, I want to just talk about the different characters and what you guys think about them.
Yeah, totally.
Starting with Yorick.
So, I assume character development happens. Well, I mean, you already see some of it towards the end of the second volume. Him kind of getting better, but like, man, Yorick is a huge wiener.
Yeah, he's really the worst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like, especially like after the disaster happens, and like he just kind of assumed like, oh, I'm gonna get to meet a lot of ladies in like romantic-ish sense because he's the last one, and then also like just being obsessed with getting to Australia
To
instead
find his
of
lady friend.
yeah, to find his lady friend who was there the like right before the disaster happened, but then also like getting distracted with like other ladies along the way, and also the fact that he has this huge responsibility that he needs to like get, hook up with the government to try and figure out what to do going forward, seeing that he is literally the last man on Earth.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was he kind of understands his responsibility and knows that he's like, oh, I am the last guy, and because of that, he kind of, instead of being careful or being smart about, what he does, he kind of is like, oh, I can kind of do whatever I want. Not so much with ladies, but with like 355 is his bodyguard, and he is constantly just getting into trouble
Yeah.
and going out of his way to be in danger,
Making her job very hard.
making her job very hard, and being like, hey, what are you going to do about it? Like, you can't hurt me or kill me because I'm the last guy, so
Yeah.
you have
You're hired to protect me.
yeah, you got to deal with it. Later, he does get more kind of character development with that, but definitely in the first two, he's just kind of just the worst
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. He strikes me as like really naive.
Mm-hmm.
He's like our age, he's a year out of college, and he's a street musician,
Yeah.
a magician.
And he's also like very much struggling to try and find a professional job, which I can relate with.
Yeah. But I think just that magician sort of mentality where he's used to like getting people's attention and then doing tricks, I guess, like somehow getting out of the situation because
Mhm.
he's an escape artist. That's what he does. And
Yeah.
he draws attention to himself way too often for somebody who's like on the run.
Yeah. So I think that he is definitely an interesting main character to have,
Oh yeah.
and does really keeps the story progressing, and always drama and danger and all that stuff going on.
And there's a lot of room for him to grow.
Yeah, a ton. But at the same time, it's kind of frustrating following him sometimes, because there's just times where I'm just like slapping my head, being like, Yorick, you're so stupid. Like,
Yeah.
you're really dumb.
Yeah, like this scene at the Washington Monument
Yeah.
where he
Yeah.
faces the Amazons
Yeah.
for
And-
no reason.
And the Amazons are women who believe that all the men are gone and they shouldn't come back.
Yeah.
And that-
They're like a big gang, basically.
Yeah.
They're kind of like a gang. They're kind of like a religious cult, I think.
Yeah. They also have motorcycles.
Yeah.
And they brainwash other girls, I guess.
And they burn off their left boob?
Yes.
So that they can hold a bow and arrow better.
Yeah.
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 They're crazy. They're also on my list. So
Yeah.
we should talk about the Amazons.
Yeah.
If we're done with Yorick.
So the Amazons, I think, are really, really interesting. And it's kind of that if you really think about what they're doing, then it doesn't make any sense.
No, it's totally insane. I was learning in one of my anthropology classes, like all behavior is adaptive. And so like our instincts are to propagate the human race.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to kill the last man on earth. Like how is that going to help us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're pretty crazy.
Well, because they see like men as like oh, they're the ones that caused all the problems in the
Yeah.
world. So if they're gone, then we can just thrive with what we have on Earth.
Yeah, and the head Amazon, I think her name is Victoria.
Yeah.
Like when she talks to Yorick, she calls him like a rapist and things like this, even though she doesn't know him.
Yeah.
That's just how they see all men.
And she talks to like all the other Amazons like a like cultist leader.
Yeah.
Like straight up like brainwashing tactics all over the place.
Yeah, and these poor women, they're like starved and like deranged, and they're joining this gang basically so they can get food and protection.
Yeah, and they can only act pretty much how she wants them to because of the way that she's treating them by depriving them of stuff and giving them like only one option to do something.
Yeah.
So I do think that a story writing tool that Vaughan does really, really well is by those time skips, he can get to really interesting concepts and kind of avoid a lot of the mundane things. So like this Amazon cult didn't start up overnight. I mean, it's been years or months already by the time that they really start to spread and gain influence and that kind of stuff. So I think it's a really cool tool that he did to do that, to kind of get to the big points that he wanted to. And the Amazons, I think, while are absolutely insane, is kind of another byproduct of human nature of when you're at your absolute last straw, you kind of latch on to anything. And one charismatic, insane person who for some reason believes that all men are evil and all men are rapists, and now like God has delivered us because all the men are now dead. But at the same time, they abuse women as well. And if you are a male sympathizer, then you're just as bad as them and are always dealing in crazy absolutes and constantly finding reasons to propagate violence.
Yeah.
They're really good bad guys.
Yeah, they're really good back. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we find Hero, who is Yorick's sister. Poor Hero.
Poor hero.
Very much indoctrinated into the like basically cult of the Amazons.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, we get to see her from the beginning of it, basically. I mean, by the time we get to her in the apocalypse, she's already, like, chopped off her boob and is, like, inducted into the cult, but she's still new-ish at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see her transformation as she's, like, brainwashed, I guess is, like, the best word, but she's forced to kill this girl while they're hunting for Yorick, who she doesn't realize at first is that the last man alive is her brother. But she kind of starts to suspect and then realizes later on. And then it's her dealing with, like, the grief of killing another human being because she, before the apocalypse, helped other people. She was an EMT and she wanted to, help humanity and things like that, and was suggesting that Yorick does the same thing.
Yeah, and that was a really effective scene when, what's-her-face,
Victoria?
Yeah, Victoria, when she forced her to kill that girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the kind of those techniques to really force people's allegiance and kind of brainwash them. And now she has that guilt of, hey, you've killed somebody, no one else will take you anywhere, you have to stay with me kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see, like, her psyche sort of breaking down throughout, like, when she's interrogating these two, I guess, railroad hobo chicks.
Yeah.
And she's like, I could kill you, killing people is easy. And she knows because she's done it.
Yeah. So she was definitely a very tragic character, and because you see the goodness that she could be and how she really loved. She had one guy that she became an EMT, kind of not to follow, but because she believed she found love there and wanted to help people. So it's a little bit of both. And then when he died, that like seriously broke her.
Yeah.
And that she's like, okay, well now I've staked my life on this man and this love that I had. And now it's gone, so a huge chunk of me is now missing. And then Victoria could just kind of sweep in and, like, really latch
Fill
on
that
and use
void.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Yorick was saying, like, she had been in, like, quasi-abusive relationships before, so it's something that's not new to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and her and Yorick were like very close
Yeah.
before the apocalypse, which is also why that seeing them clash like that is really heartbreaking.
Yeah. And it was especially for me because Yorick is Hero's younger brother. She is the older sister, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
And I have an older sister that I'm really close with too. And so seeing that really really hit home for me and being like, dang, like how would I react in a situation like that? Because eventually, is it in the second volume where they have their confrontation?
Yeah.
Yeah, she kills the
girl that Yorick kind of had the hots for.
the meth head.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and so like that whole thing, and like she kind of eventually crosses that line of no return for Yorick, where she gets to the point where he's like, all right, you are not my sister anymore, you're not even a human to me anymore, like you have crossed the line and now I don't trust you, I can't be with you, like I'm gonna throw you in jail, and if you die, I don't care. And so seeing that whole thing, and seeing Hiro just still, even in that moment, still struggling with what she's doing was really, really hard to watch and see.
Yeah. Can we just appreciate for a moment that Meth Head Sonya threw an axe, though, and killed Victoria?
That was rad.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's pretty dope.
That was awesome.
I mean, you don't see it happen, but you just hear the thunk.
Yeah, Meth Head, she's right. She's all right. She was pretty cool. And she's not a meth head anymore.
Right.
She has a new method. She's
But
clean now.
She said if she could, she would.
Yeah, because that's how
being addicted to drugs works.
Yeah.
It was also just very satisfying seeing Victoria getting taken down.
Yeah.
Because she's the worst.
Man, yeah. I will say he does a really good job of creating villains that you would love to hate. Like, man, I hated her. And I don't really like the Israeli lady. I forget her name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's pretty crazy as well.
Yeah, but I like seeing kind of the reflection of the times of,
Yeah.
the kind of, Middle Eastern Al-Qaeda kind of stuff thrown in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can talk about Alter for a moment. She's not in the first 2 volumes a lot, but
you see a little bit of her.
Yeah, she's kind of a mysterious character, and she's also a really badass character.
She is a badass.
Yeah.
She's in the Israeli army.
Because her thing is that, like, she was, like, kind of a, like, person with power in the military, kind of. Like, she had somewhat of a leadership role, but after all the men died, she became, like, the leader of, like, her, I guess, I don't know what really, like, platoon,
like Israeli.
squadron.
Yeah, she's pretty high up in the Israeli army.
Yeah.
Because she was super badass, and then when all the men died, she's like, all right, well, cool, I'm really badass, so
I'm
everyone
in
should
charge
follow
of the
me.
military now.
Yeah.
And then somebody starts feeding her information about Yorick, so she comes to the U.S. trying to find him.
Yeah. And you don't know who it is, right?
I've only read the first 2 volumes.
I'm curious. I've read more than that, so I'm a little further ahead. That's, I guess, why I brought her up when I might not have should have. She doesn't do a whole lot in the first 2, but she's cool later.
She's still on my list.
Yeah. Who do you think is feeding her the information?
Oh, I have no idea.
You don't have a guess?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
We know that it's somebody from D.C.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mystery.
We kind of skipped over Yorick's traveling companions, 355 and Dr. Man.
Yeah, 355 is super badass.
Yeah, she's super
The
badass.
more time
She's
I spend
super
with
cool.
355, the more I like her. She's
She's
super awesome. And she's like the rock of all of them. She's like, she's the only one who kind of really understands what's going on, or kind of she's the one that's come to terms with the scope
Yeah.
the quickest. And that's either she has just blotted out all of her emotions and is just like, I haven't actually thought about it, but I know what needs to get done, or she has come to terms with it really quickly and goes, okay, yeah, like I know this is bad, but this is what we have to do. And so she's the rock for the group. And I do like how even like none of them are safe. That because 355 gets like severely injured.
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of deal of like when that happened, it really shocked me. I was like, oh dang, like if she dies, like what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah, they jump out of
No
a moving
protection.
train, and 355 hits her head on a rock. But she was okay. She came back from it.
Yeah, she walked it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but 355 is a badass, and like the more time I spend with her, the more time I'm like, I wish York was more like 355, because then shit would get done.
I feel like they'll rub off on each other eventually.
Yeah.
I would like to think so.
Yeah, what do you think?
I still
Noah?
have 8 volumes to go of stuff to read. But yeah, I thought 355 was really cool. I also really liked Dr. Man, just because like the first thing you see of Dr. Man is like during the whole countdown during the first issue, and she is like about to give birth to her clone.
Yeah, well, her nephew's clone, I think.
Yeah, which she thinks. I guess we still haven't we're at. We still haven't really gotten an explanation for what caused the disaster. But like at first, the disaster happens when the clone is born, so she thinks that like that's what caused it.
Yeah.
That like perversion of life, trying to create artificial life by cloning or something.
So she has like a lot of like when they meet up with her, she has like a lot of guilt over like, oh, I caused this. And,
Yeah.
But like then she joins up with them to like go like to get York where he needs to go, and then also find out what the cause of everything was.
Yeah, I think it's funny when they find her. She's like, "Oh, I'm working on a cure for breast cancer now," because she's like, "I just want to do something useful, and then I'll kill myself."
Yeah.
Because that's like probably the most major disease that's applicable to everyone that's living at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I thought that she was, and her and 355 relationship, as it grows, and even in like the first 2 volumes, I think is really interesting. Of where Dr. Mann definitely hasn't really come to terms with it yet, with what's going on, and neither is Yorick. And with 355 kind of trying to shepherd these people, but at the same time getting pissed off and annoyed because she's like, you, especially Yorick, is like, you're the worst. Like, please let me just do my job and do it well.
Yeah, well, Dr. Mann just has this like horrible survivor's guilt
Yeah.
that she can't get over, and she also seems like someone who's very stubborn and maybe a little spiteful, because she's saying how she changed her name just to spite her dad.
Yeah, her and her parents' relationship is also really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, I think all of the characters in Why the Last Man are all really, really interesting, and I really enjoy spending time with everybody. So there's never a time where there's a character like on screen or like on the page that I'm like spending time with that I would just like want to skip because I find them boring.
Yeah, like not that you don't like them, but just you don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like the bit characters have their own motivations,
Mhm.
and I think that's what Brian K. Vaughan does really well in
Yeah.
all of his stories.
Yeah. And so you see that a lot in Saga. Like there's a reason why there's like a bunch of Funko Pop figures
Yeah.
of all the characters from Saga, and I want them all because they're all really cool.
Yeah, they should do Funko Pops for this. It's only like
Yeah.
15 years too late.
That's a thing about this series, right? Is that like this series, I feel, it's kind of, especially in these days for comic books, some comics are made with kind of with the intention of being a script for TV or movie
Yeah.
production.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, more so than some others, even, I feel like would make a really good like TV show.
It would make a really good TV show.
Okay, I was actually thinking about this, and I was going to ask, who do you see playing the characters in a TV show or movie?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah,
You
I
have no
don't-
idea?
I don't do actors very well.
Yeah, neither
Oh,
do
come
I.
on, guys. So I was thinking, like,
Yeah, how about we hear yours?
Yeah.
Denai Guerrera for 355, and
Who's that?
Denai plays Michonne on the Walking Dead series.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she was in Black Panther recently. I think she would be really badass for that. And then I was thinking like Gal Gadot or Natalie Portman for like Alter, because they both have that experience. Yeah, those are the main 2 that I
Edit that
thought of. I don't know who would be good. I think like when they were first talking about making this into a show or movie, they were talking about like Ryan Reynolds or something to play Yorick, which
think
now
that
I
would
could
work.
see.
I was about to say I could see that because Ryan Reynolds is a huge wiener,
Yeah.
so he could definitely play a huge wiener.
Yeah. Now he's too old though.
That's
Yeah.
true.
They need some hot young unknown actor
Mm-hmm.
to play him now.
Who
Or
can-
Tom Holland. I could see
Tom
that.
Holland can't play everything.
He can.
How old is he?
I believe in him.
Spider-Man. He's like what, 17, something like
No,
that.
he's a little younger than us. He's in his 20s, I think.
He's like
Yeah.
20, 21, something.
Something like that.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I didn't meet him at Comic Palooza. I didn't ask him how old he was.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just Wikipedia that.
Mm.
But much more an appropriate age than like a 30-something playing someone who's in high school.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Yorick is what? He's like 22, 23?
I was thinking around like 24.
He's a college graduate.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, he's 24, 25, I guess.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Still
like our age.
struggling to find a job post graduation.
So,
We've all been there.
yeah.
I'm still there.
Yeah. But Why Last Man is super great. And I've been really enjoying continuing to read it. And I'm really looking forward to finishing it soon.
Yeah,
Good.
I have the second volume on my stack, and I will
Oh, yeah, look, there it
I will
is.
continue to read it. Yeah, that's just the weird thing with the way I read
It's
comics.
weird that he brought his stack on the jet.
It's true.
Yeah, why did you bring that stack on
Always
this
got to
jet?
be ready.
I know. I mean, it's a long flight.
Yeah.
So it's fair.
But he's supposed to talk to us the whole time. It would be rude if he just like stopped and started reading.
But I mean, actually, I don't know how long this flight is. I don't know where we're going. So I can go ask the pilot if you want.
All right, hold on. We still got a podcast to finish.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, one more question that I have.
Okay.
What's
We
up?
can open up to questions.
Just leave the mic in front of your mouth, Sam. Just leave it there.
It's never gonna happen. Okay, so I was gonna ask, what do you think caused the apocalypse? Because there's a couple different things in the first volume that they think caused it.
Yeah. So I've read up through I think book 6, maybe 7,
Mm-hmm.
and I still don't know what happened. But there's that whole thing at the very beginning with like the amulet or something that 355 goes and gets.
that was like her, like the mission you see her going on
Mhm.
before the disaster.
Yeah, there's that, which so it could be some like crazy cursed
Magical
voodoo
thing,
magic
yeah.
thing. I don't think it's like just bio warfare between, because there's that all like the war stuff going on, right? And with Al
Mhm.
Qaeda and the Israel and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that.
Space virus. Because that's the cliffhanger at the end of the second volume, is it zooms out to space
And
on
there's-
like the International Space Station, and there's 2 guys on there.
Yeah.
Who are still alive.
Who are still alive because the disease only affected Earth,
Yeah.
from what I know.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, like, it hit everybody at the same time.
Yep.
So, if it can't be like a virus or something that just all of a sudden awoke in everyone in the world.
So you think it's magic?
So, magic would seem really out of place.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be a weird
Yeah.
cop out.
for this book, like for like
very,
the style.
very Deus Ex Machina kind of thing.
Yeah, unless he begins to build it up later in the book, right? Like maybe if, since we're only talking about 2, if like 5 or 6, he starts really starting to like start weaving in like, oh hey, magic, right? There's this legend and blah blah blah, and there's like 2 whole issues leading up to it, maybe, but it just doesn't seem like what it's gonna be. But I can't think of anything else that it would be besides magic, voodoo, crazy curse thing.
Okay. But then it raises the question, does it matter? Or would you guys feel dissatisfied if you never got the answer?
I don't know if I'd like it any less, but I might be a little dissatisfied if I didn't know what caused it.
I think that Why the Last Man, the story is the story of Yorick. It's not so much the story about what's going on. It's like the whole deal is there's stuff kind of, things with Hero and, 355, but everybody's connected to Yorick. So, like, it's his story. Is Why the Last Man is his story. So if at the very end he dies and we don't learn what happened and that's just the end, he's just dead, I feel like as a story it's going to be complete and it'll be good.
Yeah. It's not the destination, it's the stuff that happens
Yeah.
along the way.
But he does such a good job with world building and such a good job with creating a believable place and getting me to care about all of the different characters besides just Yorick that I really want to know. Right?
Yeah.
So if he doesn't give it to me at the end, I'll understand and be like, hey, I get why you did that and that's fine. But I'd like to know.
Of course.
I really would. That'd be cool of him if he, told us.
Noah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, I wouldn't really I wouldn't like the story any less if I never knew, but it would be nice to know.
Yeah.
Is that you subtly telling us that he's not going to tell us? Because that's what I got from that.
You're going to have to read the book.
That's what I got from that. Now I know.
to find
God
the
dang
answer.
it. Well, I am. I'm going to read them all, but
Yeah, well, there you go. You'll have the answer.
that's sad.
The listeners will have the answer when they read it.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you guys have anything about it that you wanted to discuss?
Final thoughts?
Yeah.
It's good. I liked
Wow.
it.
Mhm.
Wow. Those final thoughts.
I
So
don't know.
good.
There's just some good moments. Like I like the moments where it kind of like stopped to think about like the kind of the bigger picture. Like I really liked a thing I continue to kind of think about it is the moment where they're at the Washington Monument and he meets up with, I think it's Meth Head meets
No.
up with, or was it a different lady?
It's a different lady.
It's a different lady.
Different stranger lady?
Yeah,
Yeah.
different stranger. He meets up with that stranger lady, and they start like talking about like, kind of like if you think about it, like Mick Jagger's dead.
Yeah.
Like think about that for a second. Mick Jagger is dead.
Like all the musicians.
And, like all the musicians,
that
like
they
David
list off.
Bowie. Yeah, like
Which we have to live in a post David Bowie world. So
I know.
We know what it's like.
But I just thought like that, just like the moments that he takes to stop and kind of like, I don't know about like world building, but just kind of take it all in.
Yeah.
And not that stuff that necessarily progresses the plot, but just kind of you get to have these moments with these characters that gets you to get to know them a little better or sympathize with them more and connect with them.
Yep.
Yeah, and we get to see early on, like, it goes beyond just like people are losing their sons and their brothers and their fathers. Even the people they admire are dead. Like, even like all the men that they've known throughout their life are dead. And that has to sink in.
Yeah.
It sucks.
So it's super good. I would encourage, if you like comic books, to read it. That's it. If you like the idea of comics, it's worth a read.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Really cool comics, really strong premise.
Great art.
Great
art.
writing.
Yeah.
Terrific characters.
Yeah, I think I was saying when I introduced it that this is like one of the first comics that I picked up when I was starting to get into comics. And it's a great introduction.
It's super good.
It's really heavy, but it's good.
And it's like similar to Essex County. It's a really good showing of what the comic medium can do besides just superheroes.
Yeah. Comics, like any other medium, there's a lot of different genres and like ways of storytelling. I mean, like superheroes is kind of the main thing because they've been going for 70 plus years, and it's huge, long, serialized storytelling. But then all the characters are recognizable and people are invested in them, which is where you kind of get the nothing makes sense, nothing matters of like characters constantly dying and coming back. But these nice self-contained stories are awesome because they have stakes that are like actually very important.
Consequences.
Yeah.
That people care about because these characters aren't coming back if they die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
But you can always reread it and then it's like they're coming back to life.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, of course.
Is that how reading comics works?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Good one, Sam.
I'm glad I know now.
Thanks.
So yeah, thanks for bringing that to us, Sam.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Are you guys ready for ratings?
Ratings.
Was I supposed to do that?
You could have.
Okay.
That's how we know input. That's how they know to kick in the music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I forgot to write down my scale for ratings, but I think the scale was from I Am Legend to the Amazon's episode of Futurama.
Oh, so this is not from a 1 to something. This is from 2 different things.
Yeah.
New scale. We've never had a scale like this.
Yeah.
On the last episode, we got to spice it up.
Of course.
Okay. So give it to us one more time.
I Am Legend
Okay.
to the Amazon episode of Futurama.
Haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
I don't watch a lot of Futurama.
I do love Futurama.
He loves Futurama.
Okay. Well.
Okay. For you, then the scale is from bad to good.
So I want to give my rating. Can I give it a climax to the original Planet of the Apes? They blew it up. Those damn dirty apes blew it all up. Can I give it that?
Excellent.
Okay,
I
good.
like how you roped in the primates too.
Yeah.
Got to give Ampersand some representation.
Gotta give him his due.
We didn't talk about Ampersand.
He's great.
He likes to
He
throw
is
his
a
shit
crazy
everywhere.
monkey.
Okay.
I love
mine
capuchins.
is going to be. I have got Noah to read the first book of the Dresden Files,
Mm-hmm.
and so this is going to be some spoilers that won't happen until like book 14.
I'll probably forget.
So they end up doing like there's all the vampires they're doing this like blood curse, and they kill a child, and then that whoever is connected to that child like up their family tree, it kills everyone up their family tree. So that's the main character, right? It's his daughter, and so he goes to save her, and ends up killing like a freshly turned vampire that kills all of the vampires in the entire world, which creates this huge big power vacuum, and it's this huge deal and all that stuff. And so I'm gonna give it that
Sick.
because
That sounds really good.
it's really it's awesome. Yeah, and then book 15 is the last book, and it deals with those consequences, and it's super great, and it's super epic because like this girl gets possessed by an angel, and they fight a bunch of vampires, and there's a vampire god, and it's
Cool.
really rad. So if you ever get to book 14 of the Dresden Files, it's really good.
Yeah, I need to keep reading that.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff to read.
I do have a lot of stuff to read.
All right, Sam. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was awesome.
Thanks
really
for having
great.
me.
Yeah, thanks for letting me continue to borrow your books and finish Why the Last Man. I'll give them to
Of
Noah
course.
when you're done, unless he wants to buy them.
I'll probably buy them.
You should buy
You
them.
should
I
buy
like
them.
the series enough where I'm probably going to just continue to buy them.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I'll keep recommending you guys comics.
Yeah. But Sam, I'm gonna need the power back now,
Why?
so I can end the podcast.
Right, but I mean, it's the last episode ever, so I might as well just hold on to it.
No, that's not how it. The podcast can't end unless one of us has the power. Since we started the podcast, we need to be the ones to end it.
So this podcast is just gonna go on forever then?
No, I need the power back, Sam. Sam, we need the power back.
We need to end the curse.
I don't know. It's the Never Ending Podcast. Welcome everybody to the Never Ending Podcast.
No! We're trapped.
This
Sam?
is your host.
Sam, you're on my private jet.
Yep.
You need to give me the power
Are
back.
you threatening me?
No, I'm just letting you know where you are. You're on my private jet.
What if I just jump out of the plane?
Is this like
That would be very bad. There's only 5 parachutes, and there's only like 10 of us on the plane. But I don't know. I haven't checked the parachutes. I don't know if
we
they
were
work.
the only ones on the plane.
No, I mean there's a pilot. There's a waitress / flight
Oh
attendant.
yeah, I forgot.
There's a co-pilot. My mom.
Oh,
your mom's the
I didn't see you, Mrs.
No,
I guess I
my
Lance.
didn't
mom's
notice.
just hanging out over there.
Hi.
Okay.
Hey, Mom.
Hi.
Hello. She waved at us. She doesn't have a
She
mic
did.
though.
Very nice
Nope.
lady.
She is a very nice lady.
And Noah's mom is here too.
Yeah, she's over there with my mom. Hi, Noah's mom. So, can you give me the power back, please?
Okay. Do I have to rip it out of my chest like you did then?
I mean, that's just how every time the power you take it in, it comes out a different way. So, yeah, you know, you just got to think about it. You know how to get to take the power out and give it to someone.
Well, okay. Sticking with the theme of Why the Last Man, I'm just gonna regurgitate it, okay?
Why is that in theme with
Mm.
Why the Last Man?
Because they're escape artists and they throw out
Oh yeah,
the keys.
the hero
Hero
threw
threw
up
up
the
a
key
key at the
in
very end.
jail.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's obviously gonna escape.
And then how will I receive the power?
I'm just gonna hand it to you.
Okay.
And you'll know what
It's
to
gonna
do.
be a little chunky. All right, hold on.
Gross.
Oh god.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it.
That doesn't look
That's
good.
really gross.
That's not what you want to
All
see.
right, I'm gonna
Here you go.
take it. It's really yeah. I'm just gonna kind of
I'm gonna wipe
place
it, off on
it right
something.
here.
Yeah, I had Cocoa Puffs this morning.
Oh god.
That's
That's what that is.
I'm just gonna leave the power right here. It's touching me, and we'll figure it out later.
But
All
you
right.
don't have the power. You have to ingest
Is
it.
it in his possession?
That's not the same.
I'm just gonna kind of put it behind my ear.
Okay. That's magic-y.
There we go. Okay.
And now it's
So
inside your
Noah,
body.
I
Yes,
know we're
hello.
not doing the podcast anymore.
Uh-huh.
But just totally not for the podcast, just because I think it's cool and you should watch it. Have you ever seen the movie The Transporter?
I've not.
Well, The Transporter is a great movie. It was released in 2002, and it's actually like a French movie. It's made in
Ah.
France, and it's in English. So it's like a French action movie in English.
I believe the director of The Fifth Element wrote the screenplay when I was doing my research for The Fifth
Oh,
Element.
really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
You mean Luke Benson?
Yeah, Luke Benson.
Luke Benson.
Luke Benson.
I love him.
I didn't know that, but it's directed by Corey Yun and Louis Leterrier. Leterrier.
Mm.
Okay.
I don't
He
know.
sounds very French.
Yeah, he is French. And so Corey Yun is a Chinese director. And Luis is, I'm assuming, French. He also did a lot of the, not the screenplay, but like the art direction and that kind of stuff. And it stars Jason Statham, who is rad
I know that
Hey.
guy.
and really buff. He is super fit in this movie, almost as fit as that artist guy.
Almost.
Almost. And it co-stars
He wishes.
Shu Kui. I think that's how you say it. How do you say Q-I? Ki? How do you pronounce
Sure.
I don't know.
that? Well, her. They star in this movie, and it's about Jason Statham. His name is Frank Miller in the movie, and he is the transporter. What he does is he takes a package from point A to point B, no questions asked. And it's like a solid B action flick.
Yeah.
It's not super
Early
great.
2000s action movie.
Yeah, it's not super great, but the longer it goes, the better it gets.
And I like a good dumb action movie.
It's really good. I think you're really going to like it. It's kind of like Fast and Furious, but not as serious as the first ones, but not quite yet self-satire like
Jason
the last
Statham's
ones.
in
Yeah,
Fast
he's
and
in.
Furious, right?
He shows up in Furious 7.
Yeah, when those movies become like what the Expendables should have been.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not quite that silly, but it's pretty close.
All right.
It's like if you took the silliness of that and then you made it so it's not like self-aware, self-satire quite yet. It's right in that sweet spot. So you should watch
I'm
it.
excited.
You should watch it. And maybe we'll talk about it later. Probably not on the podcast because the podcast is going to be over.
Yeah, sure.
Last episode.
Yeah, this is it.
Going out
the
on
end.
a banger.
Well, that's it for the podcast from 35,000 feet over the sea. It's us in this jet.
Yep.
We're done. Sam,
Yes.
it's been a pleasure.
Of
Thank you
course.
so much for coming. Miss C
Thanks.
Sharp.
Thanks for having me.
You're really great. Thanks
the,
for
the adorable, the adjacent.
the adjacent.
As always.
As always.
Always adjacent
Always adjacent. And
to something.
And I will say that I was called inventive by Joseph Fink on the Alice in the Dead podcast because I was a Patreon supporter.
Wow.
And so he called me out in the first episode. I
High
felt
praise.
So he
very
just
flattered.
he said you were inventive.
Yeah, he said like thanks for like the something whatever and the inventive Kevin. And I was like, oh, that's me.
That's you.
Felt very cool. So we're all
That is cool.
we all have adjectives.
I'll have to finish listening to that podcast.
Yeah, it's the first episode of the third season.
They're on their third season.
Yeah.
I've only listened to the first season.
Well, the third season's getting pretty crazy. It's pretty good. Yeah. So, but that's it. We're done. Thanks for
done.
sticking with us. Thanks for listening to us on my private jet. It's been pretty good.
All right,
Thanks, Mom.
answer.
Thanks, Mrs. Stewart, for dealing with us.
Thanks, moms.
Thanks, moms.
They're moms though.
They are moms. True. That's true.
Thanks,
moms.
stewardess, for the drinks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Flight attendant.
Sorry.
It's 2018, Sam.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. Okay, we're done.
We're done.
That's it. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Bye.
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 月をあなたがその可愛い仕草が好きだったの月を今でも
You guys remember that animated movie Rango?
Yeah,
Nope.
with Johnny Depp.
Oh, yes.
The cowboy lizard
Yeah.
thing.
Vaguely.
And then towards the end, he like dies and goes to like limbo, and in limbo is Clint Eastwood, and he's cowboy god.
Yeah, I do remember that.
That makes sense. Actually makes perfect sense.
Though-
Except isn't Clint Eastwood still alive?
Yes.
Yeah, but he's cowboy god.
But
Okay.
see, my thing is Clint Eastwood cowboy god or is John Wayne cowboy god?
I mean, I feel like
It depends on what kind of cowboy you are.
Like if you're a fake cowboy.
John Wayne's cowboy movies are like very comfortable to a certain generation.
Yeah, like my mom,
Whereas Clint Eastwood is like actually like objectively
a cowboy.
like good cowboy movies.
Yeah. My mom, I guess the reason I say John Wayne is 'cause my mom loved, I've seen so many John Wayne movies that just goes to
Yeah.
my mom. Though I think probably my favorite John Wayne moment is there's a shot where this kid's like, I never learned how to swim. And he goes, really? And he's like, yeah, I don't know how. And John Wayne picks him up and throws him in a lake.
Wow.
And he was like, oh, it's like, see, you know how to swim. And he's like, oh, I guess I do. And he's like,
That's so
there you
messed
go. I also learned that John Wayne hated horses.
Okay.
He hated horses.
He hated riding horses.
I mean, it is pretty painful if you don't do it often
It's true.
or properly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you ever ridden a horse?
And yes, many times.
Excellent.